The play begins with the brief look of a trio of witches, after which moves to a navy camp, where the Scottish King Duncan hears the information that his generals, Macbeth and Banquo, have defeated separate invading armies, one from Ireland, led by way of the rebellion Macdonald, and one from Norway. Following their pitched war with those enemy forces, Macbeth and Banquo encounter the witches as they go amour. The witches prophesy that Macbeth will be made Thane, a rank of Scottish the aristocracy, of Cotter and finally King of Scotland. Additionally, they prophesy that Macbeth's partner, Banquo, will beget a line of Scottish kings, even though Banquo will by no means be king himself. The witches vanish, and Macbeth and Banquo treat their prophecies skeptically until a number of King Duncan's guides come to thank the two generals for his or her victories in struggle, and to inform Macbeth that he has indeed been named Thane of Cotter. The preceding Thane betrayed Scotland via fighting for the Norwegians, and Duncan has condemned him to dying. Macbeth is intrigued through the possibility that the remainder of the witch's prophecy, that he could be crowned king, might be actual, but he's unsure what to anticipate. He visits with King Duncan, and that they plan to dine collectively at Inverness, Macbeth's citadel, that night. Macbeth writes beforehand to his wife, woman Macbeth, telling her all that has came about. Lady Macbeth suffers none of her husband's uncertainty. She dreams the kingship for him and needs him to homicide Duncan so that you can reap it. Whilst Macbeth arrives at Inverness, she overrides all of her husband's objections and persuades him to kill the king that very night. He and girl Macbeth plan to get Duncan's two chamberlains drunk so they may black out. The following morning they'll blame the homicide at the chamberlains, who might be defenseless, as they may take into account nothing. At the same time as Duncan is asleep, Macbeth stabs him, no matter his doubts, and a number of supernatural portents, along with a vision of a bloody dagger. While Duncan's death is found the next morning, Macbeth kills the chamberlains, ostensibly out of rage at their crime, and easily assumes the kingship. Duncan's sons Malcolm and Donalbain flee to England and Ireland, respectively, fearing that whoever killed Duncan dreams their demises nicely. Frightened of the witch's prophecy that Banquo's heirs will seize the throne, Macbeth hires a set of murderers to kill Banquo and his son Fleance. They ambush Banquo on his way to a royal feast, but they fail to kill Fleance, who escapes into the nighttime. Macbeth will become furious so long as Fleance is alive. He fears that his electricity remains insecure. On the ceremonial dinner that night, Banquo's ghost visits Macbeth. Whilst he sees the ghost, Macbeth raves fearfully, startling his visitors, who include most of the fantastic Scottish the aristocracy. Lady Macbeth attempts to neutralize the harm, however Macbeth's kingship incites increasing resistance from his nobles and topics. Anxious, Macbeth is going to visit the witches of their cavern. There, they display him a sequence of demons and spirits who gift him with in addition prophecies he ought to beware of Macduff, a Scottish nobleman who hostile Macbeth's accession to the throne. He's incapable of being harmed with the aid of any guy born of lady, and he will be secure till Birnam Woodin involves Dunsinane Castle. Macbeth is relieved and feels at ease because he knows that each one man are born of ladies and that forests can't flow. When he learns that Macduff has fled to England to enroll in Malcolm, Macbeth orders that Macduff's fortress be seized and, maximum cruelly, that Lady Macduff and her youngsters be murdered. Whilst news of his circle of relatives' execution reaches Macduff in England, he's with grief and vows revenge. Prince Malcolm, Duncan's son, has succeeded in elevating an army in England, and Macduff joins him as he rides to Scotland to mission Macbeth's forces. The invasion has the aid of the Scottish nobles, who are appalled and frightened by way of Macbeth's tyrannical and murderous behavior. Female Macbeth, meanwhile, turns into plagued with suits of sleepwalking in which she bemoans what she believes to be bloodstains on her hands. Earlier than Macbeth's opponents arrive, Macbeth gets news that she has killed herself, inflicting him to sink right into a deep and pessimistic depression. Despite the fact that he awaits the English and fortifies Dunsinane, to which he seems to have withdrawn, that allows you to shield himself, sure that the witch's prophecies guarantee his invincibility. He is struck numb with fear, but when he learns that the English army is advancing on Dunsinane shielded with bows reduced from Burnham timber. Burnham timber is certainly coming to Dunsinane, pleasurable a half of the witch's prophecy. Inside the war, Macbeth hews violently, however the English forces regularly overwhelm his navy and fortress. At the battlefield, Macbeth encounters the vengeful Macduff, who pronounces that he became no longer of Ladybourne, however changed into as a substitute untimely ripped from his mother's womb, what we now call start by using caesarean segment. Although he realizes that he is doomed, Macbeth keeps to fight until Macduff kills and beheads him. Malcolm, now the King of Scotland, publicizes his benevolent intentions for the country and invitations all to look him topped at scone.